The first rule of the Quorum was simple: no single species may ever decide the fate of the galaxy alone. The second rule was never written down. Humans were the reason. For over 6,000 standard cycles, the Galactic Quorum had governed interstellar conflict through ritualized consensus. War, real war, the kind that burned suns and shattered biospheres, was outlawed. Instead, disputes were resolved through measured force, proxy clashes, or arbitration votes held beneath the vaulted light of the assembly sphere. Every species had learned the rules. Every species respected them, until the humans arrived. They came late to the stars, violent in reputation but strangely quiet in practice. When Earth joined the Quorum, observers expected conquest fleets or demands for territory. Instead, humanity brought lawyers, historians, and diplomats, people who spoke softly but carried terrifying footnotes. For 73 cycles, humans did nothing remarkable. Then the Ka Dominion broke Rule 1. The Ka were not conquerors by nature. They were methodical, logical, and patient. Anthropoid beings who viewed war as an engineering problem. Their expansion into the Pelagos reach was, by their accounting, lawful. The Pelagos systems were unclaimed, resource-rich, and strategically vital. Unfortunately, one of those systems, Pelagos 9, had been quietly settled by humans. Not a colony, not a military outpost, a civilian habitat ring. Families, children, hospitals, schools. When the Ka fleet arrived, they broadcast the standard evacuation ultimatum. The humans requested a delay. The Ka denied it. The ring was dismantled in orbit, efficiently and without malice. 87,000 human dead. The Quorum convened within 12 hours. The assembly sphere filled with light as representatives appeared. Vast holograms, shimmering avatars, neural projections. The Ka delegation stood tall and unashamed, their speakers' mandibles clicking calmly as they presented their case. Pelagos 9 was unregistered. No claim was filed. No sovereign marker was present. The action was regrettable but lawful. Murmurs rippled through the sphere. Then the human delegation arrived. They did not project soldiers or war forms. They projected a woman in a dark suit. Ambassador Elena Ward did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. "We accept your legal interpretation," she said. "We reject your conclusion." The Ka speaker tilted its head. "Clarify. You followed the letter of the law," Ward said. "You violated its purpose. The Quorum exists to prevent annihilation through technicality." Several delegations shifted uncomfortably. The Ka replied evenly. "Emotion is not admissible in Quorum arbitration." Ward smiled. "Good. Then let us discuss precedent." What followed became known as the long argument. For 36 continuous hours, the human delegation cited ancient Quorum cases, pre-Quorum conflicts, extinct species rulings, some so old that the translators struggled to reconstruct them. They did not accuse. They did not threaten. They demonstrated. At the end of it, the Quorum voted. The ruling was unprecedented. The Ka Dominion was found technically compliant and morally culpable. Sanctions were imposed. Reparations demanded. The Ka were ordered to withdraw from Pelagos space. The Ka complied. They did not apologize. They did not forget. 3 cycles later, the first human convoy vanished near the Ordhis corridor. Pirates, the Ka claimed. Accidents, they suggested. The Quorum investigated. No definitive blame was assigned. Another convoy vanished. Then another. Human ships began traveling with escorts. The escorts were not attacked. Only the civilian vessels. Only the ones carrying colonists. The pattern was obvious. Still, the Quorum hesitated. War required a Quorum vote, an overwhelming consensus. And consensus was slow. Humans waited. They documented every loss. They archived every signal fragment, every debris pattern, every probability curve. They filed formal complaints, each one meticulously structured and perfectly useless. Then the Ka made their mistake. They struck a human medical ship. It was clearly marked, unarmed, broadcasting emergency codes. The footage was impossible to ignore. For the first time since humanity had joined the Quorum, Ambassador Ward did not request arbitration. She requested a Quorum of war. Silence fell across the assembly sphere. A Quorum of war had not been called in over 1,000 cycles. It was the final mechanism, the point at which the Quorum collectively acknowledged that limited violence had failed. The Ka objected immediately. The humans seek escalation. Ward nodded. Yes, the sphere erupted in alarmed cross-communication. "You are not prepared," warned the Thalaxian envoy. "A quorum of war permits unrestricted engagement within defined bounds." Ward's expression did not change. "We know." The vote began. Species after species hesitated, weighed probabilities, ran simulations. Humanity was young. The Ka were powerful. War destabilized trade. But the evidence was undeniable. The vote passed. Barely. The quorum of war was declared. For the first time, the galaxy watched humanity remove its restraints. Human fleets did not surge forward in overwhelming force. They did something far worse. They stopped. Every human ship withdrew from contested space. Trade lanes closed. Colonies evacuated. Borders hardened, not outward, but inward. Then the humans sent a message. Not to the Ka, to the Quorum. "We will prosecute this war within Quorum limits," Ambassador Ward announced. "We will not target civilian populations. We will not deploy extinction-level weapons." Relief spread. Then she continued. "We will, however, pursue total strategic paralysis." The Ka did not understand the phrase. They would. Human ships did not engage Ka fleets directly. They targeted logistics. Fuel depots vanished in silent flashes. Communications relays failed. Navigation beacons drifted off alignment by fractions of a degree, enough to cause catastrophic misjumps. No single strike was decisive. Together, they were suffocating. The Ka adapted quickly. They rerouted supply lines, hardened infrastructure, increased redundancy. The humans adjusted faster. They anticipated adaptations before they occurred, striking at the assumptions behind Ka planning. Where the Ka optimized, humans destabilized. Where the Ka centralized, humans fragmented. It was not a war of force. It was a war of thought. Within 6 months, the Ka Dominion's outer sectors were effectively blind and immobile. Still, no major battles occurred. The Quorum watched in uneasy fascination. Then the humans escalated. Not with weapons, with votes. Human diplomats returned to the assembly sphere, armed with data showing Ka treaty violations, not related to the war, but to centuries-old trade agreements, environmental compacts, labor accords. One by one, Ka privileges were suspended, markets closed, allies distanced themselves. The Dominion's influence eroded faster than its fleets. The Ka demanded negotiations. The humans refused. "We are still within Quorum parameters," Ward said calmly. "You are free to surrender at any time." The Ka launched a counteroffensive. For the first time, Ka warfleets engaged human ships directly. They expected resistance. They encountered traps. Human ships lured Ka formations into gravitational shear zones, minefields disguised as debris, kill corridors mapped years in advance. Every engagement ended the same way. Damaged but retreating human ships, crippled Ka vessels drifting helplessly. The humans never pursued. They didn't need to. By the end of the first year, the Ka Dominion faced internal collapse. Resource shortages triggered unrest. Peripheral species questioned Ka leadership. Defense fleets were stretched thin, chasing phantoms. The Ka speaker returned to the Quorum. This time, it looked smaller. "We request immediate cessation of hostilities," it said. Ambassador Ward stood. "Denied." A ripple of shock moved through the sphere. "You have met the conditions," the Thalaxian envoy objected. "The Quorum of war exists to force resolution." Ward nodded. "Correct, and the resolution has not yet been achieved." The Ka speaker's voice trembled. "What more do you require?" Ward leaned forward slightly. "Acknowledgement." The Ka hesitated. "Of what?" "Of why this war exists." The Ka was silent for a long time. Finally, it spoke. "We acknowledge that legality without restraint is cruelty." The sphere held its breath. Ward straightened. "Then we will discuss terms." Negotiations did not begin in the assembly sphere. That surprised many species. Instead, the humans demanded talks aboard a neutral station drifting at the edge of Ka space. A station once used for trade summits, now silent and half-abandoned. The choice was deliberate. No grand architecture. No symbolic authority. Only consequences. The Ka delegation arrived first, flanked by defensive drones and legal aids. They expected human diplomats. They did not expect human historians. Ambassador Elena Ward entered last, carrying no data slate, no projection aids. She took her seat and waited until the station's recording systems confirmed universal archival status. Before we discuss borders, reparations, or ceasefires, Ward said calmly, "We will establish record." The car speaker stiffened. Record of what? Of understanding. She gestured, and the station's holotank activated, not with battle footage, but with timelines. Layer upon layer of cause and effect unfolded. Car expansion doctrines, optimization curves, probability tolerances. Overlaid atop them were human settlement models, messy, inefficient, full of redundancies that made no sense to car logic. These, Ward said, are the differences that started this war. The car responded carefully. Inefficiency is not a protected trait. Ward nodded. Neither is efficiency. Silence followed. You destroyed Pelagos 9, she continued, her voice steady. Not because you hated us. Not because you sought cruelty. You did it because your system told you the loss was acceptable. The car speaker clicked softly. Correct. That, Ward said, is why this war could not end with apologies. The humans presented no demands. They presented options. Option 1, the car Dominion retained its territory but accepted permanent Quorum oversight of expansion, logistics transparency, and civilian protection enforcement, administered by human-led arbitration teams. Option 2, the Dominion fractured voluntarily into semi-autonomous regions, each granted limited sovereignty under Quorum supervision, dissolving centralized car authority. Option 3, refusal. The car delegation recoiled. These terms exceed precedent. Ward met their gaze. So did Pelagos 9. The car requested time. The humans granted 12 hours. During that time, human fleets did nothing. That frightened the galaxy more than any barrage. Across car space, systems waited. Trade lanes were still severed. Communications remained degraded. No new strikes fell, but no relief came either. The Dominion's internal networks filled with uncertainty, dissent, and fear. At the 11th hour, the car responded. They chose option 1. The Quorum ratified the agreement within minutes. The Quorum of War was formally concluded. Celebration spread across the assembly sphere. Relief, triumph, stability restored. Many species congratulated humanity on its restraint, on its wisdom. Humans accepted politely. Privately, they prepared contingency plans. Because peace, to humans, was not an ending. It was maintenance. Over the following cycles, human arbitration teams embedded throughout car space. They did not rule. They observed, audited, advised. Car expansion slowed, not because it was forbidden, but because every decision now had to account for lives, not just yields. The car adapted, slowly, painfully, but they adapted. Years passed, then decades. The memory of the war softened, except in Quorum archives, where analysts continued to study it with unease. Every simulation reached the same conclusion. Humanity had never fought to win territory. They had fought to teach. Eventually, a junior archivist discovered something troubling. During the conflict, human fleets had possessed the capability to collapse 3 core stars. The plans were logged, approved, never executed. The archivist brought this to the assembly. The question spread like static through the sphere. Why didn't the humans end it immediately? Ambassador Ward, older now, was asked directly. She did not hesitate. Because annihilation teaches nothing, she said. Survival does. A Thalaxian elder pressed further. Is that restraint or strategy? Ward smiled faintly. Yes. It was then that the Quorum began to understand the unwritten second rule. War, to humans, was not about destruction. It was about shaping the future. Centuries later, when a young species asked why humanity was still granted disproportionate influence in Quorum decisions, the answer was simple. Humans had proven something no other species had dared. That power could be used without being exhausted. That victory did not require dominance. And that the most terrifying force in the galaxy was not a fleet, or a weapon, or even a species, but a civilization that knew exactly how far it could go, and chose to stop just short of it. The Quorum remained. War remained gray, and whenever debates grew tense, whenever expansion brushed too close to cruelty, someone would inevitably invoke an old phrase from the archives. Remember Pelagos 9? And everyone remembered, because humanity had shown the galaxy the true meaning of war. not as an act of rage, but as a quorum of conscience.